You see so many amazing businesses. I just think, oh, if I had gotten in front of you like 5 years
I
ago,
know.
I could still help you now. It's just going to be harder. I have noticed over the years that everything seems to be geared towards supporting large businesses. And yet they're the smaller of the employers. And a lot of the profits they make are not staying in our communities, and they're not often even staying in the country. That's the ugly truth of that. Community is about giving more than it's about taking. Unless you're going to make the effort to go and be a part of the solution, then you can't complain about the problems. You're making a courageous choice here.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you and support
Yeah.
you. And if I can't, I know 17 other people
Yeah.
who can help you. When it comes to the things that you're not comfortable with, find your partner.
Hello and welcome to the Differentiation podcast. My name is Michèle Sorgaroli and I'm your host. And today I am absolutely thrilled to welcome our guest, Rebecca Fox. Now, Rebecca is a commercial banker with the BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, and she is a fierce, and I really mean fierce, advocate for entrepreneurs. She strives to create environments where business owners can truly thrive. And as far as I can tell, she very much succeeds. Her clients routinely share that they feel both seen, supported, and empowered. She is also a proud mom of two, and she balances strong community connection with her unwavering belief in the power of purpose. And I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today, Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. That was quite an introduction. So
Ah.
yeah, very grateful for that.
I'm very excited about this. You just have a lovely, fierce energy, and it really is in a warm, genuine, caring kind of way, but you've got this
Yeah.
beautiful energy. Okay, so let's dive right in here. I
Mhm.
want to take you back. Now, as far as I can tell, based on previous conversation with you and also some of your history, it looks like you've been supporting entrepreneurs since about 2010, roughly thereabouts.
Yep.
And you're currently on a board of directors. You're also got multiple certifications all around enhancing your craft and becoming a master at your trade. Um, so I'd love you to share a little bit about the beginning of your journey and give us a sense of how you ended up here with the Business Development Bank supporting entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it is kind of an interesting journey for me. I think I mentioned before that being in the banking industry at all came as much as a surprise to me as I'm sure it did to anybody else. It was never something I saw myself doing, but my husband and I found ourselves moving away from the Vancouver area to a smaller town. And, at some point, I decided the bank was hiring and I would give that a shot. I will say, I always have had the need for sort of constant learning, constant challenge, some
Mm.
change, stimulation. So I thought, yeah, why not try this? And I started off in retail banking, or what you might call residential banking, mortgages,
Mhm.
loans, that kind of thing. So, I did a couple of years of that, and I found that banking had been something that not long before that made me very uncomfortable. I remember going into appointments. I remember getting my first mortgage with my husband, in fact.
Gosh.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Charlie Brown cartoons, but
No.
whenever the parents are talking, the kids just hear that wah, 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 wah. The lady across the desk, God love her, was doing her best.
Oh,
But to me, it was just like, I have no idea. I don't know what you're saying to me. I don't understand just show me where to sign, you know?
right.
So that wasn't long before I got into banking, and I've always carried that
Interesting.
with me, that I don't want that to be the experience.
Right.
It's an important part of everybody's life. You make these very big
Yeah.
decisions, and unfortunately, the industry can be a little closed off. It's not always
Yeah.
very inclusive in its language, in its jargon, in its expectations. So while it is not typically an industry I saw myself in, I did find this niche for myself where I thought,
Hmm.
I'm going to do this because it is interesting and challenging, but I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to try and really genuinely connect with who is ever is across the desk for me, and make sure that when they leave, they don't feel like they've had that conversation, that
Is
it's
yeah.
real terms, real connection,
Mm.
they have their buy-in.
That's well, you have such a deep sense of empathy for that because you're right. Like every industry has this challenge where the language of the industry becomes the jargon of the industry, if you will, becomes sort of the norm, and it becomes the language that everyone uses. And it's very common to forget
Yes.
that at
Yeah.
one time I remember something very similar. in terms of being in front of a financial advisor, financial planner, and thinking, before I was in the financial advisory world and
Yeah.
as part of my
Yeah.
journey, I had something very similar. I thought, I don't know anything. I didn't know what a mutual fund was. I didn't even know what an RSP was. And here I'm, late 20s, and I didn't have a clue about anything to do with the investment market. And it created a deep sense of empathy for me because I was
Yes.
lost. And, that's a huge part of when you're thinking about empowering people and creating
Hmm.
creating that inclusivity, if you will,
Yeah.
instead of that exclusivity or that barrier, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
can hear
can
that that's
say,
huge.
I think too, sorry to cut you off. It
Yes,
just
yes.
triggers for me this. I did so much learning in this smaller town. Age
Oh,
wise, for myself, I would have been around, 27, I believe it, around
mhm.
there.
Yeah.
So, feeling like a grown up, but let's be
Yeah.
honest, lots of learning still to come.
Just a
Um,
bit.
I can say that I at least had a very exciting life prior, and I had traveled and I had moved and
Mm,
experienced some things and seen some things. But I now was in a small town, which I had never really experienced, right? And surrounded by people who had maybe very different viewpoints, but also didn't always have the same amount of exposure. So I have this visceral memory of discussing a loan opportunity with my manager at the time. And in this case, it was a great opportunity for that client. I thought for us as well. However, I believe their personal credit, let's say, maybe didn't meet where it needed to meet.
mhm,
But there was a very good reason for that. So I went and I was explaining this, and um, their answer was, well, they have to pay their bills, and I just thought, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm in
mhm,
banking. I get it. We got to pay our bills. But, when you start talking about, I'm a self-employed individual. My wife was diagnosed with cancer. I was at home taking care of her. We tried and paid most of our bills, and we have continued to pay, and we are now caught up, or just the score is
mm,
not caught up yet. There has to be some room for common
mm.
sense. And I find that sometimes, I don't know if it's life experience or where somebody's from, but I can say for myself, I often felt judged when I was on the other side of a table. And I can say as well that many clients have told me similar stories that they really
Mm,
appreciate that they didn't feel that for me. And again, that's that, I guess, that empathy piece where I just,
yeah.
there's no value in that either, by the way, I think. If you come across strong and you tell somebody you've done it wrong, it's not
Mm,
good enough, and they leave there, all they've heard is the negative. You haven't coached them, you haven't taught them anything, you haven't helped them further their journey in a positive way, and you haven't helped yourself either, right?
Tell us
So,
more about that when you say you haven't helped yourself. What do you
well,
mean
I
there?
guess so. Personal philosophy, as you probably know in the banking industry, people are usually have targets or goals they have to meet, right? A certain number
Hmm.
of loans or a certain amount of loans, whatever that might look like. And, um, maybe I can't do the loan for somebody today, but I became the master of it's not no, it's when and how. So when I was in a situation with somebody and it really, I could not push it through, I couldn't make it, work at that time, they left very often feeling positive and ready to like we've come up with a plan. If it's a
Mm,
credit issue, we've come up with a plan on what we're going to do with concrete steps about what we're going to do. If it's an equity situation, whatever that is, they totally understand the concept and they are
mhm,
now empowered to go away and do those steps. And if it's 6 months or 6 years, those people
mhm,
will come back and
mhm.
eventually that deal will get done. So that's part of that, I suppose, if you're encouraged by the monetary side of things. I think when you do the right thing, it comes back to you. So for me, I'm really excited about educating and empowering people for that, for their sake, the
Yeah.
compassionate side of me. But what I have now noticed after many years in this industry is that, oh, when you do that, it comes back and they come back to you. They come back stronger. They also had a good positive experience that maybe they haven't had. And so they're going to share that with their friends and family and business owners and what have you. So
Yeah. Compassion for someone's humanity and
exactly
saying
for the
just
experiences, right?
right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can it's coming through so that all that fierceness that I talked about earlier is coming back in
Yeah.
fullness. I love it. So you you obviously feel very strong. I love how you said, it's not a no, it's a when and a how.
Hmm.
And the thing that really stood out for me was you spoke not only to, you're not cheerleading from the, yeah, you can do this, go back, come back when you're ready. You're saying, let's get some concrete steps and
Hmm.
let's make a plan so that you have the path to a solution.
Yes, exactly. I think that's incredibly important. Personally, of course, for myself, if you would like me to improve something about me, or I've hurt your feelings and you want me to communicate differently, whatever it is, it would really help me to understand exactly what you're talking about and then how you would like to see it done. So maybe that's just me putting my own learning style on other people. But I do feel that, again, I've had people come to me where they've spent maybe 6 weeks
Mm,
working with another lender, and that lender may be working very hard to get it done and they just can't. And at the
mhm.
end of the day, the client might get a quick phone call if they're lucky, or an email saying, really sorry, unfortunately, we can't proceed. And there's no information. And they have no
Mm,
idea why, what part of it, right?
right.
What can I work on? How do you get prepared? Okay, so maybe I lost this house and I can't buy it right now, but what was it? Was it, you know,
Mhm,
so I just feel very strongly that at least by the time you leave, you're going to know exactly why. Um, and whether or not I agree with it, you'll probably know that too.
mhm,
But
mhm.
then how we can fix that, right? So how we can work on that, build that strength, repair that, and then come back. And I can usually, after a couple of years in the industry, I can usually even give them a general timeline of, if you do these things, this is probably what we're looking at. So let's check in 3 months, see how it's going, and then let's see where we are in 6 months,
That's
right?
beautiful.
So,
Yeah. It's
hmm
so just knowing humans, right?
hmm
The path forward and knowing what we can do to facilitate the vision or to realize the vision that we have or the goal that we
hmm
have. If we have a path forward, we can almost endure just about anything. But if we don't
exactly.
know, then it just becomes so deflating.
Yeah.
I'm so curious, where do you think this deep sense of empathy developed? Is this something that were you like this as a little girl in your
I
childhood
think
or?
so. Yes, I would say that my mom told a story of being quite down one day when I was still a toddler, not
Oh,
even verbal type of age, still in footy pajamas. So I gather I woke up from a nap and she was in her room and just feeling down. And um, I came into her room, climbed in the bed, and just rubbed her back. So
oh,
my father was a minister,
mhm,
and he would do multiple services on a Sunday. And often, as a young person, he would bring me with him to the early service and just point
mm.
out somebody that might be lonely or what have you. And I would
Oh
go
my
and sit with
gosh.
them, and actually developed some fairly close relationships with much older people, with couples that would have at the time been maybe in their 30s and struggling with something. And I would sometimes on the weekend go to their house and we would just do things that you would do with your 9-year-old daughter if you had one, baking or going somewhere. So I think for whatever reason, yes, I've always had
Hmm.
that. I'm not sure
Hmm.
why. Maybe it's just you're born with it.
To
So,
some degree, and
hmm
I would imagine that certainly it's there. And what I heard is with your father's influence, it was also, and your mom certainly, but
hmm
you commented on your father specifically.
yeah,
He nurtured it by pointing
yeah,
out, oh, that person needs your care, or that
yeah,
person would benefit. And then, of course, you were receiving evidently positive feedback from that as well in terms of
exactly.
people wanting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's funny how our youthful experiences kind of nurture the development of they can or they can
Yes,
nurture
yes,
when they're
exactly.
effective. Yeah, that's really beautiful. So you've been as you were growing up and whatnot, that you were supporting people all around. Can hear that.
Hmm.
Entrepreneurs have been something that's really caught your passion and
Yes,
excitement. I'm curious
yes,
about where that was birthed. Where did this
yeah.
excitement for supporting entrepreneurs start?
So I've actually thought a lot even more about it since our chat last time, and um, I had a really impactful experience working for an entrepreneur, and her business is supporting entrepreneurs in the
Yeah.
small to medium enterprise size, which is also my passionate area. I will do, of
Yeah.
course, work for any size of business, but that area has always been something that I just find so incredibly inspiring and talk about a
Mm.
challenge. I've now been doing the same job uh, for at least, I don't know, at least 10 years. And in my entire life, that is unheard of. You could ask my family, my husband, whatever. My husband's had one job that he got at 17 and he's still doing, and he's
Oh,
almost
oh.
50. Um, I'm the opposite. I want that change, that challenge. This job, working with those entrepreneurs and their incredible abilities to make business and make impact out of things that, again, to this day, I may never have heard of or imagined is even a thing.
Mhm.
And then the amount of energy and sacrifice and passion and pivoting, and I guess the heightened, everything seems very heightened. The emotion of it, right? All of that. Um,
Interesting.
and and unfortunately, it's also a space where in banking,
Mhm.
you have the least support usually, right?
Yeah.
You don't typically, if you're depending on the business size, typically you don't have maybe a dedicated CFO. You've gotten into your business and you're running a great business, maybe as an electrician or whatever it is, but now you're suddenly in HR and you're supposed to be doing your books, whatever that means.
Right.
And so it's this incredible amount of energy and passion and dedication coupled with a real area where they could use some support, right? They could use somebody taking the time to help them to understand and get access to the capital that they need.
Mhm.
You work with entrepreneurs as well, so I think probably you can imagine or have seen
Yeah.
um, that a lot of businesses in that area will what we call bootstrap it, right? They're
Mhm.
going to tap their home equity, they're going to run up every personal credit card, they're going to spend all their savings because they can't get access to capital, or they tried one time or maybe two times and got a
Mhm.
very lukewarm reception with
Right.
no education, no understanding of what just happened, so they don't try anymore. And that to me is really sad because you see so many amazing businesses that by the time maybe I've gotten in front of them, I just think, oh, if I had gotten in front of you like 5 years ago,
Sooner.
I could still help you now. It's just going to be harder. Um, but I think that's part of where my passion comes from is just that I see all the energy and everything that's going into this. And also, there's this big gap where they don't have the support. And if that's a space that I can help
Yeah.
alleviate some of that, then I would love to do that. Right.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. I'm hearing you lit up like a firecracker there, so I just love
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah.
Um, you talked about it's heightened.
Hmm.
So you mentioned energy, passion, dedication. There's a
Yeah.
heightened sense of that, particularly at that early stage
Yes.
phase.
Hmm.
You also spoke about area where there's the least support,
Yes.
which,
Yeah.
as you spoke further, you talked about, I heard it's the time when actually dreams can either move on and be realized or die,
Hmm.
right? Where dreams can be energized or depleted, I wrote down.
Yeah.
Where it can kill it, because in that
Oh, I
stage,
just got
it's just
goosebumps.
right? It's
Like
I'm with you on this. I see
yeah.
this, and it's
Ugh.
as in an entrepreneurial setting, dreams can be shattered in a moment because they're
Yeah.
so fragile,
Exactly.
even for the entrepreneur who's totally committed and
Yep.
excited,
And
right?
they've put everything into it, and
Everything.
one little thing that they have no control over could be the difference,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oof.
And yeah. And so the next step there is what we talked about at the very beginning here. I introduced
Yeah.
the importance of power of purpose for you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what I hear that you're connecting with, is that you realize that you're at that pivot point
Yeah.
where the dream can go on to be realizing the kind of impact that is possible,
Yeah.
or the dream can be killed right then
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stopped, and the impact just
Yeah.
disappearing, right?
And I mean, not to be completely boring, but BC in particular in Canada, this size, these levels of businesses, these are the people that are stimulating our economy.
Yeah.
These are the big employers in our country. These are the people that, their employees and themselves keep their money in the community.
Hmm.
So I'm not trashing any large businesses,
No.
but I have noticed over the years that, in fact, even government regulation, everything seems to be geared towards supporting large businesses, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And yet they're the smaller of the employers. And a lot of the profits they make are not staying in our communities, and they're not often even staying in the country. That's the ugly sort of truth of that. And so for me, I think that's especially why I've landed at BDC, right? Is that's the area of support. We, by supporting this size and helping get past that difficult point, even if your goal is never to be a multinational plumbing company, you want to have you and a couple of guys and do it for 40 years and live well, travel a bit, and then sell it to, your manager. That's amazing. That's the
Yeah,
biggest impact in a positive way to the economy, and to, your family and to those workers and their families and all of those things. So
absolutely.
it's my power purpose for a lot of the like energy reasons and compassion and my desire to help to educate. Um, but it's also just, I believe, strengthens our economy. It strengthens our communities in a much more real way.
Yeah, we are very similarly minded that way. I shared those sentiments in terms of the impact of when you have a strong entrepreneurial venture that touches communities in that way and touches families in that way and creates the stability and the ripple effect of that,
Yes,
the ripple effect of a simply stable business. It
exactly.
goes into the home life, it
Yep.
goes into the community, and it spreads into the client culture, the whole bit. It just moves on and on and
Yeah.
on. The impact of that is dramatic on
Yeah.
the experience of the humans who are
Yeah.
touched by that.
Involved.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's just so much of that.
Yeah.
So, interestingly, yeah, I feel that you have a very strong connection to that,
Hmm.
the ripple effect of
Yeah.
those that impact. Now, you've mentioned community a few. Oh, before, okay, I want to go to community, but first, I really just want to highlight.
Sorry.
No, no, this is all good. I'm just all over the place. Come have fun. Um, the business development bank. I was actually on the website earlier, and I did not realize, is the tagline the Bank of Ambitions?
Yes, it's one of our taglines. We are Canada's only bank solely for entrepreneurs as well.
The Bank of
Um,
Ambitions. How brilliant is
yeah.
that? Hey.
Exactly. So, and I feel very much that way. I feel very
Yeah.
strong. So, you know,
Mm.
it was a really big values alignment for me to be able to be a part of that movement, I guess. I think movement, that
Yeah, to
organization. I
empower.
feel like it's a movement, but it's, to be able to work there,
Uh,
and empower these people
yeah.
and have the tools and the support of the organization to really do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. You've touched on many times in the conversation, but again, just to highlight the impact of financing or
Mm,
understanding the money or whatever the
yeah.
loans are, the ability, the
Yeah.
impact of that. It's not the loan. It's
Mm-mm.
it's the ripple effect and the trickle effect of all of that
Yeah.
financing that realizes it allows the ambition to thrive. It allows the dream to be realized,
Yeah.
and it has a,
Exactly.
a much more profound impact than sometimes it's understood to have. As we're
Exactly.
head down, this loan doesn't
Yeah.
qualify. Next.
Keep going, move along. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a processing plant, but in this case, we're again, not to be too boring, but in the banking industry, typically the way people are measured in a role like mine might be by dollars or numbers, things like that. And at BDC, it's essentially about the impact we make. So that's in fact how the entire bank is measured. We are looking to make impact locally in our communities. So the way we understand that is exactly what we talked about: stable businesses, resilient business owners, supporting them to either grow or pivot or start or transition. Right now, due to so many factors, there's a lot of business transitions happening. So people looking to sell their businesses.
Yeah.
For the last 5 or so years, I think we can all say the economy has been very uncertain. And so what
Mhm.
we see right now is an overabundance of people who are late 60s, 70s, mid 70s, still in their business because they haven't quite been ready to transition out, right? You need to be in a
Mhm.
certain place to do that. And if you're dealing with COVID or you're dealing with a recession, maybe that's not the time. And it's also not the time people are looking to buy a business.
Right.
So we at BDC do a lot of business ownership transactions, whereas a lot of the banks don't do that, especially in the small to medium size. It's
Hmm.
considered riskier or more difficult to kind of weed through.
Hmm.
So we do a lot of them, and you know that keeping that business here operating with those employees employed with a new owner for the community is way more impactful than that business owner saying, "Okay, well, I'm done now and wrapping it up, and sorry to you
Yeah,
employees, good luck at your next place," right?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, as I'm reflecting, you talk, as I'm hearing you speak to your own, bringing your own strengths into
Hmm.
this equation.
Hmm.
You've talked, I think you've used the word challenge several times in this conversation,
Yeah.
which speaks to your passion for the
Yeah.
challenge. For you, a challenge is an opportunity,
Yeah.
as opposed to the,
Absolutely.
right? I
Yeah,
can hear that. You're
absolutely.
like, "Ooh, there's a challenge. Let's go make
Yeah.
this
Let's
happen."
get our fingers in there, right? Let's figure
Exactly.
out what it is and how to deal with it. Yeah.
Which is amazing for those people
Hmm.
who get the privilege of working with you, because if they know that you see the challenge as a game
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
inspiring you and you want to win the game and you want to solve,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? I can hear
Yeah.
that so loud and clear. The other thing I think that you're really bringing into this, in the experience that I've heard throughout, you mentioned earlier, moving to a smaller town, which there were different views, different perspectives, different
Hmm.
viewpoints, a different environment that
Yeah.
gave you a sense of expanded perspective,
Yeah,
right? Of,
absolutely.
oh, okay. So
Hmm.
that probably, I would imagine, broadened your, not only your sense of empathy, but also just your sense of what's possible.
Absolutely.
As you were like, oh, this is an interesting way of thinking. So
Yeah.
that piece really came up as well. And you said you love learning and you love change.
Mhm.
And of course, what's trickling through all of this is community and impact. So
Yeah.
I know you're a strong believer in collaborative communities and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about where this community sense came from. What is it about community that's so important to you?
That is a very good question. What is it about community that's so important? Um, we moved a lot growing up. So we
Ah,
moved an awful lot. I was born in London, Ontario.
okay.
At the age of, I believe, 7, we moved across the country. So we're from a very big connected family. So surrounded by aunts and uncles and cousins and all of that. And we left when I was about 7 to BC where we didn't know anybody.
That's impactful at that age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now, if you ask my older sisters, we also moved quite a bit around Ontario because of my dad's work.
Okay.
So I don't have as many memories. I was young then, give or take.
Mhm.
For myself, I do, I actually love that. I love to move and to, again, maybe I see it as a challenge. I don't know. But what I do remember is we moved to BC, and because my dad, as I mentioned, is a minister, you come in and you're walking into a built in community where
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
walk into this place and everyone knows your name and your sister's names, and everybody wants to
Wow.
embrace you and learn about you and be a part of that community. So I've literally never thought of that before today. So I'm spitballing here. But I often wonder if perhaps why community feels so important to me is that, if you can build a community around yourself and be involved in a strong community of like-minded individuals or
Mhm.
unlike-minded individuals, um, you're never you're never alone. You're never fighting these challenges on your own. You're learning
Right.
from these people. You're engaging with these people. Um, and what I did learn growing up that way is that community is about giving, maybe more than it's about taking.
Mm.
So maybe just like any relationship, actually. um, if you want it to be good and healthy and strong and you want to be able to thrive in that community, then you need to put some skin in that game too,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's very easy. I think you see this a lot, unfortunately, nowadays with the very divisive kind of politics, but take something maybe as complex and ambiguous as, crime rates. Everybody comes and they're all up in arms about crime rates and they all have very strong ideas and opinions about how to fix it. But unless you're willing to take action
Mhm.
and do something concrete, then what are you adding by just railing on about it and expecting someone else to fix it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I've always believed, for example, unless I'm going to get out there and vote, which I always have every year since I could vote, unless you're going to make the effort to go and be a part of the solution, then you can't complain about the problems, or you maybe you shouldn't. But so it's important to me to be involved in the community because I want to have a healthy, strong community. I want to give back
Mhm. Mhm.
because it has given back to me, right? I've been able to move to Kamloops and I knew nobody here. I had two young children. I worked a job that was virtual, so I was not
Oh,
like
wow.
even in a
Yeah.
workplace.
Right.
And, you know, I had to find my community.
Yeah.
No longer being a churchgoer, I don't have any kind of built-in community. So, yeah, I had to find it. I had to nurture it and grow it. And once I did that, it just became very important to me to do that
Yeah.
for other people and to keep it healthy and strong as much as I can.
Well, to your point, I think, certainly your youth had community built in, which I think is a really interesting insight because you
Mhm.
experienced it even when you moved, you
Yeah,
experienced a built-in community, which a lot of people don't have. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
and we see this in entrepreneurship as well when you're like-minded or anytime. And in the work that I do around, interestingly, around differentiation, what
Hmm.
happens with differentiation, right, is that you're trying to stand out, which means you're trying
Yes.
to essentially isolate yourself.
Yeah, it's that is so interesting. I
Right?
love
It's
that.
so
Yes.
interesting because we resist actively because what does that mean? That we are being isolated from our community, our sense
Yes.
of belonging. And what did
Yeah.
you say earlier? Our sense of belonging comes from courage,
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
that confidence, rather it comes from the sense of confidence which gives us the courage to do stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if we feel isolated, we feel alone, we feel rejected, we have a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff going on, and yet we're trying to differentiate and stand out. So there's always this push pull on
Yes.
this. Now, I'm hearing in your journey that you've been able to very strongly come forward with your values and your philosophies and your beliefs and your
Yeah.
engagement, heavily supported by community, I would imagine, in the early years as you were honing that and
I
allowing
would
yourself.
say absolutely. And I
Mm,
would add to that as well that I'm very much what you just described now.
mm.
When I first moved to Kamloops, and I had actually gone as a guest. Have you heard of BNI?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So I had gone as, or not a guest, basically as the representative of the business owner because they
Okay.
couldn't go that day. They send a replacement. That replacement was me. I was
Okay.
told you have to do your 60-second pitch or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Growing up, I used to actually sing in front of large crowds and audiences. So one would think I don't have performance anxiety, but here I
Oh.
was. And it was one of the largest humiliations of my life.
Oh.
I'm not entirely sure what I said to this day or how I got through it. It was extremely uncomfortable. And I found that the idea of walking into a room of people I don't know and networking, that actually took me several years to develop once I moved here to this
Yeah.
very isolated place. And part of what I did to find my community was join every networking thing I could, show up at events as much as I could. But I promise you, so many of those times I felt quite ill going in. I might have had
Yeah.
this complete cold sweats, completely uncomfortable, talk about imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Because who am I anyway? What job am I doing? How do I tell people? I think what you find as well in Kamloops is a bigger city than where I was, but it is still very much a small town as far as there are a lot of people here who have gone from elementary school to college to owning their business together, 60 years here.
Wow.
So, I'm here now 10, 11 years, and I still am a new person to a degree,
Mm.
right? I have become comfortable. I have become comfortable to say my opinions and to represent my beliefs. It did take me time. And I
Yeah.
do wonder if part of that is a lack of community for me to sort of be in, where I had to really
Mm-hmm.
find it and
Mm-hmm.
find my people. But also, to a degree, being a woman in
Yeah.
business is
Yeah.
it's a different experience uh, than people might assume. So, um,
Absolutely.
and
You know,
I would say that the higher up you go in banking, you'll see. sort of less and less women at the higher levels.
Hmm.
And so it becomes almost, yeah, it is a disconnect, right? So
Absolutely.
luckily for me, by the time I've sort of gotten to this place in my career, I'm now more confident to be able to stand in my space and hold my space.
It's,
That doesn't mean
yeah.
I still don't have imposter syndrome sometimes, or
I don't think anybody ever escapes that,
right?
even the ones who seem like they've got it all figured out. I think inside, I remember, years ago, there was a family member who was in his late 70s and
Yeah,
very, very accomplished. And,
yeah,
on the outside, just, and you'd think, oh, he got it all together and no
yeah,
fear at all.
yeah,
And he used to say periodically, he's like, yeah, every once in a while I just turn around and I keep expecting someone behind me is saying, I see through you.
exactly.
So even, I think we all experience it on
Mhm.
some level.
Yeah.
The thing I want to pull on here, the thread to pull on is
Hmm.
we're talking about the role of community, but also the sense of confidence and courage.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
there's this piece, I see this so much in my clients, and I'm curious about what you see, and especially in the stages that you're dealing with too, where if you have community, you
Hmm.
have a sense of support. So
Yes.
that'll, even if your confidence isn't well honed, your courage is supported if you
Yes.
have a sense of community.
Hmm.
And very often, like we often think mistakenly that courage is the result of confidence.
Hmm.
But it's actually, right? You talked about this just earlier.
Yeah.
It's actually courage comes before confidence, particularly where the community is not well formed. We need the
Exactly.
courage to get out there, find our community,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Just
then
do it.
that's
Like
right. And the
sweat through
confidence,
it.
right. And the
Yeah,
confidence
whatever it
follows.
is.
And this is what
Hmm.
we see with entrepreneurship. We see it with
Yes.
differentiation. I work
Yeah.
on this a lot with clients to have the courage
Yeah.
to express in a way that is going to cause them to feel uncomfortable, to stand out, to be different. In your
Yeah.
case, the courage to take these big loans or to take these
Yeah.
ambitious steps. Where
Yeah.
do you see this dominant, where this confidence, courage piece is in play with your clients?
Yeah. So one of the things I feel strongly about entrepreneurs is there is so much courage there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in all fairness, yesterday at work, we had an event. We invited a number of our clients, and our economist was in and a bit of a lunch. So
Nice.
we're all sitting around chatting, and I mentioned that. I just said, it's unbelievable listening to these
Hmm.
stories as people are
Hmm.
talking about what they're doing and some challenges and what have you. And I said, the courage that entrepreneurs
Hmm.
have, this is really
Agreed.
what gets me going.
Oh,
And one of them turned around and just said to me, "Oh, I don't know if it's courage, but we just have to do, like, you just
just
have
do
to
it.
do it. You have to do it." I was like, yeah. And I know he's right. I know what he's saying is correct. So I think that's sort of what you're alluding to. And for me, that whole thing of just pushing myself out of the comfort zone, you are
Hmm.
not going to get to the next step if you don't just go in that room, introduce yourself, and
Yeah,
if you make a fool of yourself, which let's face it, how likely is that? But if you do, it's not the end of the world. You know what to do better next time, hopefully, and you just have to keep doing it. And entrepreneurs do that on a daily basis.
right.
you
They
know
just, yeah,
um yeah, they're building their business, which in its own self is a little community, and they're doing it within a somewhat larger community, and there's so much complexity there. Um and whether it is courage that they have to do that, or whether it is another word that I can't land on, like resiliency or drive or passion, something that keeps them doing it.
well, I think they're kind of interlinked. I think
Yeah.
I very often think that it's not often seen or even framed or experienced as courage.
Yeah.
But I think about heroes, right? And to me,
Hmm.
entrepreneurs are heroes to me.
It totally,
They're,
100%.
oh my gosh, the willingness to go on the entrepreneurial journey and embark on what they know deep down, as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, we know deep down that we've got a journey ahead of us. And yet, of course, we
Yeah.
frame it in like the beautiful utopian experience.
Yep.
And that's how we get started.
Yep.
Um, but nonetheless, where I think what's happening is that it's not framed as courage, but as I think about the hero's journey, if you will, the work
Hmm.
of Joseph Campbell, if you're familiar with it,
Yes. Yeah.
fascinating work. The hero, whoever we are, in it, when
Hmm.
our courage shows up, think
Yeah.
about, as a firefighter, or if you see something, if you see someone in distress, you're not
Yes.
going to think about whether you need to have courage. You're just going to do it.
Yes, you're
You're
gonna
just
act
going
or
to
you're
you're just
not.
going to act. Exactly. You're
Yeah.
just going to get in there and be a hero and
Yeah.
save the day in the
Yeah.
moment. And so it's often not seen as courage, and yet that is what we're pulling
That
on.
is
It's
courageous.
right.
Yeah. I think, and I don't know who said it, maybe millions of people over the years, but maybe what I'm feeling when you're talking about that is the idea of, well, it wasn't courageous because I was scared, I was
Yeah.
scared to death.
Yeah.
So I don't have courage. I'm not courageous. I'm scared to death, but I have to do it. But really that is what courage is, because it's not courageous if you're not scared.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
I loved jumping out of an airplane. I loved bungee jumping.
Mhm.
I love to stand on the edge of really high cliffs and sort of lean over and tease my husband because
Oh,
he
for
is
Pete's
petrified
sake.
of heights. Petrified. Can't
You're a
even go on the
monkey.
Ferris wheel. So, um, so it's
Oh,
not really courageous of me to do that, right? The first time, maybe jumping out of a plane took a little courage, I'll be honest. If I wasn't strapped to the guy that was jumping out of the plane,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
now I would absolutely do it again. So that's not courageous for me. If my husband did it, that would be incredibly courageous because he'd be
Right.
terrified, right? And so that's taking all of his everything he's got to give to be able to do the thing that's hard and that is not coming naturally. And I think, again, entrepreneurs, my own journey, that's a reoccurring theme is just, doing whatever despite what you're facing and
Yeah.
with the tools you have.
And there's something, the have to do it. It's interesting
Hmm.
because we frame it that way. We just have to do it.
We have to.
Well, the interesting thing is you're always in a position of choice,
I suppose that's true, isn't
right?
it?
You don't have to. You
Yeah.
could shutter the business.
Oh,
You could make a
yeah.
different decision, right? We
Yeah.
always have choice, but when we frame it as have
Yeah.
to my mind, it kind of
Yeah.
takes a little bit of the fun out of it.
That's true. You're
And the
choosing to dive. Yeah.
Yeah, we choose to. We choose to take on the challenge,
Yeah.
because we see what's on the other side. It's always because of what's on the other side, right? We
Yeah.
want to do this. Marathon runners and these endurance racers and this kind of
Hmm.
thing is it's incredible because
It's
they know what they're
unbelievable.
going to endure.
Yes.
But they take on the challenge because they want what's on the other side. So they're
Yeah.
choosing this
Yeah.
path. And I
Yeah.
think, sometimes we forget that we're
Yes.
not necessarily
You're not
all
having to do this thing. You're
we're
right. I
yeah.
that's so interesting. If I can, it's triggering a thought for me
Yeah,
about
please.
maybe why I see it as have to. And it
Uh-huh.
comes back to that first entrepreneur that I worked for.
Mm,
Um, in a, they were in that tenuous position of starting this business, and now, at the time, they had very young babies, right? And
yeah,
so, in a way, it felt like it has to work because this
right,
is what's putting food on the table. This is
right.
what is like, it didn't matter if I had to work, not me, but if she
Yes.
had to work
Yeah,
24 hours a day, if
yeah,
she had to sacrifice all of these things, she had to do it because the bills have to be paid. The children have to have these things, food and shelter and all of that. And I mean, I'm making it sound like it was some crazy dark time. It's not, but realistically speaking, if you're in a situation where you've kind of put all of your eggs in the basket
mhm,
of this business, it is
mhm.
kind of on the line. And,
Absolutely.
as I mentioned before, what I see a lot of is people that they've got themselves there and everything personally is maxed out. Maybe they could turn around, shutter that business and get a job, but even that can be a very big challenge, as we all know,
Right.
those of us
Well,
in the
it's
employment industry.
we were
you
talking
know?
about exactly. It's interesting because we're talking what you're talking about, I think referencing is which challenge is the one that
Yeah.
you're most
Okay.
willing to accept, right?
Yes,
So
you're
there's
right.
challenges no matter
No, you're
what
right.
direction
Yeah.
you take. And I think that's so fascinating because
Yeah.
there's a challenge no matter what the journey.
Yeah,
And
you're
it's
right.
really about what challenge am I up for
Yes.
that has the most meaning for me, that feels the most important or compelling. And this is where purpose comes
Yeah,
in.
you're right.
Isn't it
Absolutely.
interesting?
And then, like, at the end of the day, um, whichever road I've chosen to go down or whichever one I'm considering going down at the end of the day, when I pile up all the things I sacrificed, but all the things I've gained versus this
Yeah.
side, which one am I more drawn to? Which one am I willing to do
Yeah.
that for? I would love to understand, and you might actually have a way better understanding of this because of your work, but what is it about the entrepreneur that they look at that balance and this is what they choose? They choose to do this, no safety net.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there's a lot of
whew,
there's a lot of all-in thinking,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's very healthy because curiously,
Hmm.
the more the safety net is present and the more
Yes,
robust the safety net, the more comfortable we are and the less risk we're willing to take,
yes,
which is interesting,
absolutely.
right? So
Yeah,
there's some level where it says entrepreneurs value and feed on the
yeah.
lack of the safety net
I think you're right.
to
Yes.
some degree. I've heard that over and over
That's
again.
really resonating when you say that.
Not everybody,
Just
but it's common.
Yeah. Just thinking through like so many interactions, the way you phrase that really resonates. That not having that is part of the almost that
Hmm.
fuel that keeps
Yeah.
them doing that. My older sister,
Mm.
who's 6 years older than me, so very different stages of our lives, right? When I was 12 or 13, and they're
Yeah.
grown up now.
Yeah.
Um, they're brilliant, and we're off doing amazing things, a beautiful writer, an amazing pianist, just so talented, and really look up to her. But I remember in my teenage years when I was having a little bit of difficulties, let's call it that. But we would have these really long discussions and conversations. And one of the things she had said to me, and it really, really stuck, is that nobody grows in their safe
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
So if you want to be, and in fact, I think she was critiquing my poetry, and it was really hard
Oh.
for me to hear. But basically, what she was saying was, yeah, if you want to grow, if you want it to be better, then you need to be uncomfortable. Have this conversation, take the
Yeah.
critique, hear it or not. You can choose to take it and not hear it and decide you're not a poet then and put your hands up and walk
Yeah.
away, or you can, percolate and see how it resonates and keep trying. Like that's all up to you, but growth doesn't happen. You can't climb a ladder if you're not going to like painfully keep going for the next rung. Um,
Yeah.
and I have found that that is incredibly true through my entire life, that any kind of
Hmm.
growth to the next level of a relationship, of a job, of a
Hmm.
craft, it takes hard work and it takes discomfort, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So,
think absolutely
yeah.
there's definitely something there. And I think that's where, in a sense, the mindset around I have to do this
Yeah.
has a certainly it serves the sense of urgency and
Yeah.
keeps the adrenaline going and keeps the fear levels
Hmm.
up because we have to, because it's a matter of survival.
Yeah.
The the flip side of that, or the alternate viewpoint or framing that maybe is even more productive,
Yeah.
is I'm choosing to
Yeah.
because of what's on the other side.
Yeah. I absolutely
And
love that.
it's
Love that.
so it's and if we can connect to that, and that's a lot of the work that I do, is help with, yeah,
Yeah.
but there's this thing on the other side, and what makes it be something that this is the challenge you choose,
Yes.
right?
Because when I hear you say it like that as well, it also really feels so much more empowering, which
Right.
is what I genuinely am attracted
Oh,
to.
yeah.
So, because you're empowered in that case. When
Hmm.
I'm phrasing it as have to, it's like it's out of your control and it's happening to you, and you're muddily trying to get
Yeah.
through it because you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
When you're phrasing it like that, which is the truth of the matter, you can
Yeah.
make these choices and you are choosing it. You're
Hmm.
now driving.
Yeah.
That's like, I, again, goosebumps because I just
Yeah.
realized like how much more that mindset, if we can help people, help me, and help other people to understand that this is incredibly difficult, but you're making a courageous choice here.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you and support
Yeah.
you. And if I can't, I know 17 other people
Yeah.
who can help you and be your community and try to support you. But it's so much more empowering the way you phrase that.
Hmm.
I absolutely am going to onboard that and
Oh.
maybe steal that phraseology when I'm talking to people,
Oh,
if
it's
that's
all
okay.
yours. You go. If we
Because,
could do more.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just love that. Just putting you in the driver's seat of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Well,
chaotic and all that, but you're
you
in
see the
charge. And
change, right?
yeah,
And I
love
think
it.
the other piece around this is that there's something about wanting,
Yeah,
wanting
yeah,
to.
Yeah.
that feels like it's, in my experience in working with so many entrepreneurs, it
Yeah.
feels like it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes, I've heard
right?
that.
Uh-huh.
Can I say,
It's,
especially in my case, from women entrepreneurs? There's a
mhm.
lot I've heard from them about certain things not being okay.
Yeah.
But
It's saying,
anyway,
"I want this." It's like, "No,
yeah.
no, I have to do this because,"
Yeah.
and then there's a justified
Yes.
reason and it's validating your decisions and it feels
Yeah.
like it's less about you.
Yes.
But when the challenge in the framing of it from my perspective is if you want something
Mhm.
for solely your own benefit,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
yes, it does feel kind of icky.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. That is so uncomfortable, isn't it? For so
Yeah.
many of us to say. Uh,
But if we want
yeah.
something, yes,
Yes.
and we will benefit,
Of
but we
course we
want it
will.
for the ripple effect and all the beautiful
Yes.
stuff it's
Yes.
going to do and how it's going to
Yeah.
change the world and the
Yes.
impact we can have. Now we're
Give my
connected to,
family a
sorry,
better
connected to
life.
right,
Yeah, like
connected
all
to
these
purpose.
justifications. Mhm.
Beautiful. Then it's about others and creating these
Yes.
beautiful ripples of
Yeah.
consequential impact. And now
Yeah.
it's like, no, I want this, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a surge of positivity that comes from that, and
Yeah.
actually a sense of confidence that isn't the same when it's like, I have to do this. It's
No, you're
heavier,
so right.
it's differently
I'm just,
weighted.
it's really, really clicking with me what you're saying.
Mm,
And I want to learn so much more about that and like really think about that because
mm,
again, at least for myself, uh, and I know from my mother and I know from anecdotally lots of other women, whether they're entrepreneurs or workers or
mm,
any of that stuff, as simple as um, at the dinner table, being able to articulate that you want that piece
mhm,
for most women feels like a shameful act.
mhm.
I personally was raised with pretty strict table manners, and I love and respect that about my family, and it's come in handy, so that's great. But certain things like, you have all these rules, right? Customs
Yeah.
about offering the thing that you want to everybody else first, and when
Mhm.
everybody else has turned it down, then it's acceptable to ask, may I have it, right?
Oh,
So, a more traditional, I guess, upbringing, but just and then as a mother, everything that you make, everything that you cook, everything that you do is about serving the needs of others. And that is very much how, at least I feel, how society views your value as a mother, right?
yeah, I
Is like
agree.
how good of a job you're doing
Mhm.
at giving all of your things away to
You
everybody
know, it's
else.
interesting you're bringing that because I was raised similarly to you, where
Yeah.
it's, everybody else and then
Yeah.
you're allowed. And it's basically saying you're not that valuable in this
No,
equation. Like
you
you don't
literally
matter
do
in
not
this
matter.
equation.
Yeah.
But you know what? I fully credit my husband for this because
Yeah.
as we were raising our children,
Yeah.
what we developed as a family was saying, I want this. Would anyone like to share it with me?
Oh, I love that. I love that as a very good option of being
So
like
now it's a
marrying those
collaborative,
two things.
yeah, you're
Yes.
marrying it, saying, I would like some, but I don't eat
Yeah.
all of it, but I
Yeah.
want some. Would anybody like to share?
I
And
love
then
that.
you get to express what your want is, but you're not
Yeah.
saying, I want the whole thing.
Yeah. Or
Um,
just taking it or whatever it
yeah.
is.
And
Yeah.
so it was a way of, more community minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. More
But
about
also
coming together.
recognizing that you have some
That's
value
right.
here.
Yeah.
In fact, you probably made the thing that you want to eat. So, you it's some
But he
recognition
taught
of
the
that.
kids
Yeah.
that so
Yeah, I
that
love
they
that.
were able to feel like they had a position and a voice at the table,
Yeah,
saying, they're
absolutely.
eyeing that last piece and they're desperately wanting. You can see your kids doing it, right? They're
Yes,
sitting
you
there going, I
so
really want
can.
that, and they don't know how to
Yeah.
do this, and they don't know how to ask, and they're just
Yeah.
waiting for everybody. And is everybody done yet? Or
Yeah, exactly. And like went so a little bit possibly of an overshare, but through our journey, my children now are 16 and 13. In the last several years, we've discovered that most of us are non-neurotypical in my family. One of my
mm,
children has a dual diagnosis of autism and ADHD. The other
okay.
one, my son, my younger one, is a very typical ADHD boy.
Hmm.
As far as when I say typical, I mean like hits grade 4 and suddenly can't sit down, suddenly, can't adjust, was a real struggle for him. So, what is interesting now is I look back at the way that I was raised with all of those very strict regulations and rules, and then the
Hmm.
way that I chose to raise my kids around the dinner table. So,
Mm,
the empathy, the compassion is very real, even in my parenting style. I would say to a degree, it might even be considered a weakness, according to other people who watch it. The word free range gets used a lot,
Mm,
but it would be things like allowing my children to, stand up at the table, not
mm,
requiring that they sit the entire time when they were
mhm.
toddlers or
Right.
young children or even now. All
Mhm.
of that before we knew anybody had anything different about them. It took us years to find out that
Wow.
anything was different because they are, well, because we are also different. But
You were in your community.
I was in my own community, and
That's
I just
right.
thought, no, but at the
Aw.
same time, I coupled that with, there's just so much compassion. That's my main thing. I said when I have kids was that I just want them to be
Mm,
good people. I want them to feel loved
lovely.
and
Yeah.
to be able to go, like, home is your launch pad. You come here at your weakest and you get pumped
Mm,
up, and then you
mhm,
go out and face your
mm,
challenges, right?
mhm.
So our house is all about compassion, understanding, empathy, and to varying degrees because they're not all like me, obviously. But what I've noticed now, grandparents have commented throughout the years that, why don't you sit down? Are you going to sit at the dinner
Mhm,
table?
mhm,
It's not polite to
mhm.
stand. But what I've noticed now is they're 13 and 16, and they're both fully capable. And in fact, we get told a lot by older people that they're around. They sit down and they have conversations with adults. They're able to do that. They
Mhm.
understand the concept of, like, would anybody like some of this? They know how to do the manners thing, but they
Yeah.
also are not, it's not a scare thing. They're not afraid to mess up.
Yeah.
They're
Oh.
just genuinely sort of able to embrace, like, real
Mhm,
conversations and connections and, behave when they need to, but they also know that they don't have to all the
mhm,
time, right? You don't
mhm.
have to mask and do it all the time.
I love this.
Yeah.
What's coming up for me as I'm thinking
Mhm.
about you
Yeah.
is the quote, "How you do one thing is how you do anything."
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what's bubbling
That's
up for
funny.
me
Yes.
here is you said my home. So
Yeah.
coming in at your weakest and leaving empowered to be your best. I don't think
Yes.
I didn't get the words quite right, but I think that's
Yeah.
what you said. And all
Basically
I
the
could
same.
think
Yeah.
of was your clients at the BDC. They come in
That's so
feeling
funny.
weak.
Yes, I never, like, it's amazing. I love talking to you. There's so many things that are just clicking for me that I've sort of, I guess,
Thank you.
known, but not been able
Uh,
to understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
and that's
right.
what you're doing. They're
Yeah.
coming in and saying, "Help." And you're like, "I've got you.
We've
Let's
got
get
this.
this
Yeah.
sorted out so you can go out and be empowered
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
feel that confidence and, embrace your courage that when you came in maybe wasn't as strong."
Exactly. Yeah.
That's gorgeous. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, Rebecca, we've covered a lot of territory, and I know
Yes,
we could talk for hours
absolutely.
and hours. I've been also enjoying this conversation. Um, but as you reflect on this conversation,
Hmm.
as we're coming to an end, I just want to give you a moment to pause and
Hmm.
perhaps highlight for our listeners
Yeah.
what you might most want them to hear.
Okay. I think, for anybody that has made the choice
Mm,
to, run a business, operate a business, become an entrepreneur, um, I would say, please remember to always recognize in yourself the incredible strength, courage, resiliency.
mm,
Find your cheerleaders and cheerlead yourself as much as you can. Um, but also, when it comes to the things that you're not comfortable with, and if that's financing or if that's HR,
mm,
whatever it is, find your partner. If
mm.
you walk into any room and feel that you're not welcome there, then you're just in the wrong room.
Nice.
It doesn't mean that you don't belong there. That's the wrong person. So just keep looking. Don't give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You deserve to
Exactly.
have the things that you need. You're doing an amazing service for our country, for your
Hmm.
families, for our communities. Just keep looking.
And how lucky is our community of entrepreneurs to be supported by you. Thank
Thanks.
you for
Thank
the
you.
work that you do. It's just
Thank
beautiful.
you.
For those who would like to follow you and reach out to you and perhaps
Hmm.
benefit from a relationship with you, where might they best find you?
LinkedIn is basically my social media. So
Okay.
just my name on LinkedIn. And I am an account manager at BDC. So if there's multiple Rebecca Foxes, that's
We'll make
that's the
sure the
one.
link is there as
Yeah.
well. Perfect.
But yeah, feel free
That's
to
so
reach
great.
out. What I do like to put out there as well, I'm a huge believer that you do not need to want financing to ask me a question.
Wow.
So just please reach out if you have questions or need direction. It doesn't need to be a transaction. I genuinely want to be able to help you get to where you need to go.
As I said, a fierce advocate for entrepreneurs. She shows up again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such an enriching conversation full of little gems of wisdom. Appreciate you for today. Thank you,
Awesome. Thank
Rebecca.
you. It was great.
My pleasure. And bye for now.
Bye.